kind of touched on it, but I guess we'll hit this now.
Yeah, we've already started touching upon it, and we'll touch it even more. Touch it all over. Ownership. Who really owns a product? Who owns a digital game? Do you own it? Do you own it, consumer? Does the storefront own it? No, the license holder owns it, which is the company that says, EA says, we're so gracious that you want to play Dragon Age the Veilguard. We're willing to let you pay us $80 to play Dragon Age the Veilguard today. But you don't own it. And guess what? If we decide to take it off the storefront, if we decide we no longer want to be associated with the product that we made, it's gone forever. And if you don't have it downloaded, it's gone forever. You don't own it anymore. Sorry, buddy. I hate to tell you. As for if I bought a copy of Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is something you shouldn't do, if I did buy a copy of Dragon Age the Veilguard, though, I own that copy of Dragon Age the Veilguard forever. Sure, now it's annoying because I have to download digital updates and digital installs. So you notice that word digital, nobody likes it when it comes to like putting a disc in. But I still own some portion of the product is still on that disc, and I still own it, and I can do whatever I want with that product. Um, it isn't they can't come and delete my copy. Nobody from EA is going to show up to my house, bust in the room, and break my copy of Dragon Age the Veilguard over their knee and say, "Too bad, you can't play it anymore." That's not going to happen. This also is a big thing with free to play games. We've seen this a lot recently. A free to play game is a nice game in theory. They're all digital. Even if you buy a copy of Fortnite at the store, you're buying a code to play Fortnite or something. Like it's not there. There's no way to own these games. And say you got really into playing, I don't know what was the Smash Bros game from WB, that one, fucking whatever it was called, that game. Say you got really into playing that game, you got really good with Batman or Jake the dog or whoever the hell, and you got all the skins and all the characters and whatever else. It's going offline. I'm pretty sure it just went offline, and it's gone forever. You can't play it anymore. You wasted all your money on a digital product that's gone. You don't own it. You can't own it. It's done. As you know, if I had bought a physical copy of that game that didn't get a physical release, but if it did, if I had bought it, I would still own it. Sure, it's offline, but I would still be able to own it and play it in some capacity, probably. But it's a matter of fact that whenever it comes to digital games and digital licenses, you don't own anything. And so the argument of ownership as it comes to the consumer, it's all physical. That's the only thing you can own.
I think ownership is a word that has like a lot of um, weight to it, and I think gamers specifically ascribe ownership with this thing of importance that I very rarely see them ever truly care about. They say that they care about it. I don't think it actually offers them anything that they want. It's kind of silly to hear gamers talk about ownership, um, because it's like they'll say things like, "I want to be able to, when the servers go offline, I want to be able to play it." Um, yeah, for free to play games aside, I'll address that in a second. But I have almost seen zero instances where a gamer can't play the game that they downloaded or that they bought. I think there was like one instance where it was it the Scott Pilgrim game or something? The beat 'em up
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one
where
didn't
they
get taken
couldn't
down
play
for
it.
a while.
Okay. I think history remembers that one. And I think every other game that is a very specific set of circumstances
No,
that is unfortunate. Um, but every other game, there might be a couple other ones or something, but in general, you can always play them. Just because they're not on the storefront, if you have the key to it and if it's sitting there, you can still play it. Yes, other people can't download it perhaps or buy it. We can get to that in a second when we get to the next one, which is preservation. By the way, that's the last segment or the fourth segment. But that's a separate issue. In general, if you want to talk about free to play games, I think we need to readjust how we look at these as an experience as opposed to ownership. Gaming now has a thing called games as a service. And I think when you understand that concept, it's the game of right now and enjoying it. It means that these games are designed to be popular with people while they are popular and are supposed to be played with people while they enjoy it. As soon as they stop enjoying it, the game goes away. But the game wouldn't exist without people enjoying it. Does that make sense? So
Tell Skull and Bones that.
That's a weird one, but I don't actually know how that one's still going. But that's a separate issue. A game like Fortnite, yes, it's interesting that at some point they're going to have to pull the servers on that, and and that game will go away. But you can't really say I want to go back and play that game, because you would also have to have hundreds of thousands of other people also saying I would like to go back and play that game to maintain that experience. And if that were the case, that game would still be going on. Unfortunately, that's not how that kind of game works. So ascribing an ownership perspective of that and the ability to go back and play that just doesn't make any sense. The ownership of it is not the point of you being able to play it wherever you want. It's playing it in the ecosystem that they've created. You have to hand ownership to them. Otherwise, the whole thing falls apart. So I think ownership in general in modern games is a very misunderstood term. And I don't think that people really understand what owning it actually means.
Don't think it's necessarily untrue, but I also think there are instances where we've seen well, there have been more games delisted than just Scott Pilgrim, but that is the like the poster boy one. But yeah, there's been a lot of games that like I think have been delisted or like are just unplayable now due to like time or whatever it is that people still want to play. And when I see those games, it's more of like the companies themselves no longer make the effort to make those games playable, even though they are still popular or they still have a fan base. It's usually like the fans themselves have to make it happen. I think Final Fantasy 11 is a big one. Like you can play Final Fantasy 11 now, but it's all through like fan made servers and run programs. Um, and that's like Square Enix they don't care about that game at all. There's no involvement. So if it wasn't for the people that actually like the game would no longer exist. Which then begs the question: like you're playing it through a fan made server, but it's Square Enix game that they don't want to supply anymore. Like who owns the game? It's still Square Enix, right? um,
That's interesting. But again, that's an early idea of games as a service, MMORPGs.
there's also an issue. There was something that big happened that this affected me personally. Back last generation, I bought a copy of Overwatch, and I liked Overwatch quite a bit. I thought it was fun. I played it. I bought a few skins. I had a good time. I paid the full whatever $50, whatever price it was when it came out, and I thought it was pretty damn good. Played it a bunch. I owned that, right? I owned that game, the Overwatch, because I paid the $50. No, I didn't. Whenever Overwatch 2 came out, they steamrolled my copy of Overwatch, and with Overwatch 2, they just splatted it on there. I can no longer play Overwatch anymore. I have to play Overwatch 2 and all the stupid nonsense they've put into that game and all the free to play bullshit in that game. They took a game that I bought full price for $50 and put a lot of time into, and they said, nah. And they chucked it out the door. They said, you're playing this now. And I don't understand that. Yeah, I didn't own Overwatch the whole time. Why did I pay for that?
I think that comes down to an industry that was trying to understand games as a service and wasn't quite there yet. when they created that game, which was good. I remember on release, it literally was the biggest it's ever been when it released, and then slowly, it wasn't like a quick death or anything. It just like slowly lost popularity. So probably a big win for them. But I think Blizzard mishandled that, and I think that's on them. Is that they didn't really understand the games as a service thing, and they made people buy it when it probably should have been free, and they just monetize it with skins. But they, Blizzard is owned by Activision, I think, or something like that, and so they're like, make as much money as you can. And see, that's bad business practice. But what they really wanted to do with that clearly was the games as a service, and I think they mishandled that, and I think that is a good example of how companies should not treat a digital property, is also make you try to buy into it with a upfront price.
Not only that, but I didn't mind buying Overwatch, and I had fun with it. But the problem was that whenever Overwatch 2 came out, they essentially just deleted Overwatch.
Well, and I think the problem with that is their intention was that you buy the product and therefore you get to play the product. But with most games that aren't games as a service, the product you buy on launch is essentially the same game you'll have forever. They'll add patches and they'll add fixes to it, but in general, the concept is that's the game you buy. With Overwatch, their goal was to constantly change it and evolve it as you were playing. Therefore, the product that you bought at launch doesn't look anything like the product that you have now. And I think that is a misinterpretation on their end of games as a service, where they were trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to get you something that you're going to constantly put money into, which should have been their profit margin. But they also charge you an upfront price of, I want to buy this game. And I think that is on them. That's a shitty business practice that I think now people have looked at Overwatch 2 and are like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. Companies that do that should be shunned. That is a bad practice.
It is. I at one point I could tell people like, yeah, I'm a fan of Overwatch, but now when I say it, I'm like, yeah, I liked Overwatch 1. That's like what I have to say now, because it's whole experience. It's like I don't play Overwatch 2. I played it a few times, and it's like I don't want to touch it. Since I paid for that game, they should have had Overwatch 2 be a separate game, and then Overwatch 1 should have just stayed even if they didn't want to update it, anymore. Just keep it the way it was. It's just there. It's just there. People that liked Overwatch 1 should have just been able to play Overwatch 1.
If you're going to do games as a service, if you're going to, I think legally, if you're going to alter the game to the point that it's essentially a different game, you should not be making people pay an upfront price for it. That's just bad business practice. That's like saying, if you want to buy The Witcher 3, okay, I bought The Witcher 3 because I wanted an action adventure RPG where I make choices, and they're like, yeah, but we're going to evolve it into a sports game. Like, like that should be illegal. That's like literally you're a bait and switch, giving you a completely different game, and so I think that is bad business practice.
It is. I'm curious. You know what? Speaking of physical versus digital, I am curious. We're talking about Overwatch way too long. I am curious what's on those Overwatch discs now. I don't have one anymore because I just had it on my Xbox. Like I think I had a copy for PS4 a little bit, and then I got rid of it because I had it on Xbox digital, and I was like, I'll just play it there. So I wonder what's on those, like if those physical discs work anymore, or if they don't do anything, if they just pop them into your PlayStation or whatever, if they just are like,
probably Ninja Turtle skins, something like that. I don't know, something stupid.
Yeah. So
let's
we got off the debate.
Let's talk about preservation.